Good morning.
Morning.
I'm joined here today by the Fraser-Hickson Institute, the organization behind MinibiblioPLUS, an organization whose mission is to increase literacy in early childhood across Quebec. I'll give everyone on the team the chance to introduce themselves. I'll start with John.
Hi, good morning. Thanks
Good
for
morning.
coming. We really appreciate you coming. My name is John Hussey. I've been involved with the Fraser-Hickson since 2014 on the board. I joined at a time of great change. It's been a great experience, and I'm really excited to be part of this organization, primarily because of my love for reading and the impact that reading can have for young children in the early stages of their development.
Wonderful. I'll let Thomas introduce himself.
Thanks very much, and thanks for being here this morning and the invitation to speak with you. I'm Tom Ledwell. I'm the Vice President of the Board of the Fraser-Hickson, supporting John in his presidency. I've been involved for the last 2 years, not quite as long. Early childhood literacy and literacy more generally is something that's been important to me throughout my life. As it happened when I joined the board, my own children were I think 6 and 8 at that particular moment, so kind of core demographic, and I had the advantage of seeing them grow into this, going through this incredible phase of learning to read and the doors that unlocks. In my own life, I run my own small firm called Ledwell Strategies, working on strategy, communications, and governance for number of not-for-profits, higher education. I do some work in the community sector as well, apart from my volunteer work.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
And I'm the latest comer of these two other people. I'm Isabelle Roussy. I'm the Interim Executive Director. I'm replacing Asha Dixit, who just had her second child. So I'm taking care of her third child, Fraser-Hickson Institute and MinibiblioPLUS. I grew up with books. This even helped me learn 2 languages almost at once by having books around and by having a mother who's a teacher. And I've joined just recently and quite happy to be part of this adventure.
It's so nice to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I'll let Maria introduce herself. She's from the REISA team.
So hello, it's great to be here actually. It's the first time for me, so it's a great pleasure. I'm Early Childhood Coordinator at REISA, and I've been with them for 2 years now, and I hover over the programs, the HAY and BB programs that CHSSN has offered us.
Yeah, this is not my first time being here. I know it might be your first time. I came here in the fall to pick up a big stack of books, about 100 books, I
for our
believe.
library project.
Can you tell us more about that?
Well, the library project has started really as a pilot project. It was more of an initiative to have the pre-K students come and have a library experience without actually going to the library. So being that we were in-house at the youth center and just at ground level where was the daycare, we figured we'd have the students come upstairs where we are and have an animator read to them and introduce to them books and the love for books. And it took off really, really well. We saw such a great enthusiasm in these young kids who came just to have that experience, have their books stamped as if they were actually, take their books home, actually as if they were actually in the library. So, so much so that we are bringing it back again, and it's thanks to MinibiblioPLUS and the accessibility to the books that we've had. So
We're great partners.
yeah, we are actually. Thank you so much.
Well, I believe that's exactly what MinibiblioPLUS is trying to do, inspire the love for reading, but also making those libraries and those books accessible. Can you tell us a little bit more, Isabelle, about MinibiblioPLUS, the programming?
Of course, with pleasure. Basically, what we do is we try to outreach those people who are outside footprints of libraries. So we're really a complement of libraries, municipal libraries. And what we offer is both those mini-biblios that you've talked about, but also training. So training for educators, training for parents as well, to help them ease through how do I get learning to have fun with books easier at home, easier at the daycare, to make it more natural and make it a routine mostly, because everybody knows that a habit makes for a good development.
Wonderful. And I know you spoke about making the books a little bit more accessible. What locations do you go to? Is there schools that you're going to, daycares?
Daycares, centre de pédiatrie sociale that we go to, so pediatric centers, any caregiver who have children that come onto them. We don't actually have children coming here in our library. We actually give books to those who cater for young children to have those books available for them.
This is where you store the books,
This
and
is
then
where
you
we
distribute
store the
them.
books.
Here we are.
And it's an unusual library because, as you know, we have multiple copies of one single book. Well, libraries do that too, but we have many, because sometimes we can have rotating libraries, 20 around or 30 or 40 around, not only in Montreal, but also across Quebec.
Wonderful. And just out of curiosity, how do you receive the stock? How do you choose the types of books that are going to be in your library? Tell us a little bit about that process.
There are some themes, right? Especially caregivers in childhood centers, they do work with themes themselves, and they have requests. But we also have our own themes that we cater to. So it's a package of these books. We try to have different books for a given theme, and that's how we develop through time. And the book switches are about every 6 months.
So on that same topic, I mean, we are also integrating into libraries, the public libraries, of which we are going to collaborate once more with MinibiblioPLUS on these themes that you are referring to. So based on a theme, we'll encounter mothers and tots, and mothers will have a formation, and based on a specific theme, and you know, the children will be read to at the same time. So like a Mother Goose program modified.
So yes, and we offer also a program continuing which we're continuously perfecting, and it's called Roots for Reading. And this is to help educators and parents know better how to read and to bring that habit in each moment of their lives. And we have a program, part of that continuum, that's called Preparing for Kindergarten, and that one's becoming pretty popular with daycare centers.
Yes, of course. I feel like that program would be very important. Developing that love for reading early on is super important, especially now with technology rapidly changing. We could see children younger and younger becoming more interested in their phones rather than books. So tell us how that program helps children develop.
Well, studies have shown that when you integrate books early on in a child's environment, they get that hit of dopamine through their imagination, through using books, and just through having fun with the caregiver, because one of the key elements of bonding can come from books. And although it will not 100% reduce the probability of children using phones and computers later on, it does give them another source to go to, and their brains will also be conditioned to find fun in books, and that's a great way to counteract the addiction with screens.
Right. It's not, the idea is not to get rid of phones. We're never going to get rid of computers. We're going to have to use them in work, at school, but to give them a second option, right?
Right.
To give them that sensation that, okay, there's something else other than a phone or the internet that I could turn to.
Yes, and especially at a young age, some parents might be willing to give a screen to read books, but actually that creates a bad habit, because if they are read to by their parents and have that key moment where they can interact, develop language with them, it's much better to do so, and it does also help with keeping away that phone just a bit longer.
And I'm happy you brought up the fact about bonding. I know a big part of developing as a child in early childhood is just doing tasks with the parents or with the caregivers.
True.
For example, cooking, reading. Do you find there has to be a love for reading on the parent side as well to help develop that love for reading for children?
It certainly helps. But it's not only just a love of reading, it's a love of using books and having books around. And you talked about cooking. You don't necessarily read from front to back a cooking book, but it's a reference that you enjoy taking out and feeling a recipe is perfect for this, and you turn to it and look at the images, and it can be a great way to interact with a child and to actually do an activity, which is also key in the literacy, to doing an activity that has to do with the book, but is not necessarily reading it from front to back.
So I just wanted to add to that, because it's one of the things that the Fraser-Hickson and MiniBiblio has done for many, many years since the creation of the MiniBiblio program has been underlining the importance of getting parents on board with reading, and the importance of the role that we play is often helping our partners to educate parents about the importance, because not everybody grows up in the exact same environment with the exact same nurturing around the importance of reading. And one of the things that I think we've all experienced, including all the board members and all of our employees and staff, is that we've all seen firsthand what happens. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
One of the sessions that I attended was we had an author, a children's author, come in and read to a group of children. And what amazed me when I watched that was the fact that the children were enraptured by this author who is reading from his own books. And the image of the children captured by this author was really underscored what this is all about. So we speak about phones, but I think it's important to remember that we're actually targeting an audience that shouldn't really have a phone at this point in time. Early childhood literacy starts from the day of birth, from the mother reading to her son or daughter, the father reading. This is what it's all about. And I think that the program over the years, we've gone from our original partners with the YMCA. We had 3 or 4 partners in the very beginning, 10, 12 years ago. We now have close to 200 partners across Montreal, and this is significant. And the impact of that is very difficult to measure, but it's measured in those moments that I described before, which is when you see a young child. And at the end of this session that I referred to, all of the children were given a new book from this author, and you could see it in their face, this love that's just naturally there. And so that's what we're all about. We're about creating that connection. And I'm very proud of what we're doing.
I'd like to add that besides training caregivers and parents, we also have many volunteers who actually go read in daycares or even in the park. I forgot to mention, but we've got a program called Sunshine and Storytime, which is currently being held in 10 parks in Côte-des-Neiges and Notre-Dame-de-Grâce. It's the third year that we've been perfecting this program. And these volunteers are essential to everything we do. Volunteers are essential to Fraser-Hickson in the broader way, in that, for example, as our governors here are volunteers. So not only to read, but also to help us move ahead with the organization. And I just want to add that it's important for parents to do it, but also, as you've mentioned with that author, having sometimes that third voice, the volunteer or an author coming to read and having a different way of saying things. The phonics is so important to reading. So when we talk about reading, it's actually reading out loud. It's not necessarily showing the words or saying, here's an S, here's an A. It's just the pleasure of hearing and developing language. And of course, they'll use the book, and sometimes even, as you were telling earlier to me offline, they'll start pretending they're reading the book, but it's not actually the story.
Exactly. That's what we had seen with our project. We had hired an animator. She's an audiologist, and she was amazing because her animation, her dynamics, her enthusiasm just captivated these young little bodies, and so interested in reading. And at the end, they wanted more. It was like they couldn't get enough. And it's not like they don't have reading sessions in their own little mini library at daycare. They just felt, I guess, a sense of belonging in this person, and the socialization that came with it. I mean, they would, sit beside each other, open up a book they couldn't even read, but just pretend they were reading and animate for themselves. And it was, they were establishing friendships. It was way beyond the actual, book.
Exactly. So basically, building literacy is building experiences, bonding human experiences, and that's what makes them stronger at school later, what makes them more able to understand multiple languages later, and what sets them up for better success in life. So we believe we can bring the best potential in the child when they're going to an adult by having this early literacy.
Yes, of course. And I can imagine it also opens the mind to new perspectives when kids are read to, have authors being present, reading their books to them as well. And a lot of what I'm hearing, it builds connection, and it builds a strong foundation for school. I know we spoke a little bit about the mission of MinibiblioPLUS, but how did this all come about to be? Because I think this is an important context for this.
Yeah, I'll hand it over to John, given he was there.
At the
very beginning.
Back in 1870. It is important to underline the history. We are the oldest library in Montreal. The Fraser-Hickson was founded by Hugh Fraser back in 1870. And there's been an evolution to what we are today. And along the way, we also had another benefactor, Mr. Hickson, back in the 1950s, who helped us with an actual construction of a building and the initial acquisition of books. The Fraser-Hickson Institute, which has always been an NDG, has obviously changed and evolved since then, and was under pressure. It's fair to say under financial pressure for a number of years based on public libraries. We were always a private library. And when I came on the board, we were at a turning point, and we were very lucky because we had an executive director, Hélène Fortin, who had a vision, and the vision was Minibiblio. And it was the beginning of our renaissance. And what's significant here is that we, as a board at the time, we made some hard choices, and there was a period of time where we were on the brink of closing down. That's how serious it was. But Helen had this idea, the board got behind it, and we rationalized our structure. And that there were some very hard decisions to make during that period of time. We had to decide to sell the building. We sold off some of our old collection of books. We donated some of those books, and we rationalized things and made everything simple so that we could focus on the new mission. And we've been lucky to have had great support from employees, volunteers, the community. And I think this is the thing that sets Fraser-Hickson apart from a lot of other things that are going on, is we've got this great sense of community. We continue to underline the importance of that community as we go forward. We've got some very ambitious plans. Tom has been part of it, and the rest of the board has been part of developing a new strategic plan where we're going to go beyond just MinibiblioPLUS. This is our core project at the moment, but we have vision of being something much bigger than that speaks to the needs of Quebec and Canadian society. As you probably know, people don't always realize that there's a big problem with literacy, and certainly the pressures of technology are part of that problem, but education and giving confidence to children is part of what this is all about. When you have confidence in your skills, your basic skills when you arrive in primary school, it facilitates success. And so we're very much around being that support for families, for communities, and we hope to become experts in developmental literacy in Canada, not just here in Montreal, but not in Quebec, but across Canada. And that's an ambitious project. I'll let Tom maybe speak to some of the other issues that are surrounding those objectives and where we're going.
I would love to hear about that.
Thanks, John. And I do want to build on, it's sort of the why we do what we do. And that, I think, is consistent over the course of the entire history, but it's, I would say, even more urgent now. So we've talked about these ideas of a love of learning, confidence in learning. This is critical. Of course, that's a key thing that drives the work day to day. But the research, to circle back to some of that, does bear this out. I remember reading something 20 years ago, and this is before we all had smartphones, before everyone had a tablet, that said that the difference between, the single most important factor that made a difference for literacy was a certain number of books in the home, and the number was 1. And so we now know also through the research that a greater number of books does also further improve outcomes, but that stuck with me. That idea that if you do get one book into the hands of someone, when John was giving the example of the leave behind book, this one you get to take home, that is automatic. That is starting to make a difference in terms of not only the love of reading, but the opportunity. Talking about love of reading is fantastic, but what are the opportunities? And we know that there is a lack of opportunities for too many kids. Another aspect of that is, yes, you want parents to be engaged. Yes, you want, you need the community to be supporting it. Another important factor for the opportunity to learn to read is to get off screens. And so there's research that shows that just the printed word versus something on a screen does make a difference. And so if we look at really what drives the Fraser-Hickson Institute and MinibiblioPLUS, it is also the first 8 years, but especially the first 1,000 days. And what is so interesting about that to me, and the research, there are mountains of research on this. Our education system kicks in at about age 5.
Right.
And by age 8, most kids are expected to read. So we know that in Canada, 1 in 4 kids by grade 3 does not read at the accurate level or at the expected level. And so we are working on a solution-oriented approach that is trying to address the problem earlier on. And because under the age of, first 1,000 days is age 2, but let's say even by age 2 or 3, I mean, this is the period of children's lives when their brains are expanding the most. And anyone who's grown up around kids has seen, I mean, just like you learn to talk, you learn to walk, you learn the amount of learning that takes place during these 2 to 3 years is never replicated over the course of our lives. Of course, that's the moment you have to get reading and books into the hands of children. And that's really the main driver, and I think one of the main things we do that is not being done by others. The approach to bring it to communities means that we can create opportunities for equity-deserving groups in ways that normal libraries are not necessarily able to in the same way.
Right.
Serve a critical need, of course. And so those are some of the driving factors, I think, that go into kind of why we do what we do and the way we do it today.
Can I ask you a question, Tom? So you've described that quite well. So, and I kind of know the answer, but I want you to talk a little bit about whether society as a whole really gets what this problem is. Do they really see it? Do they understand it? And how do we help that society get a better feeling for what's necessary?
So I do have 2 young children who, as I mentioned before, were at that reading age not so long ago. They're bilingual kids. And so I'll use sort of this notion of conventional wisdom that I experienced. When your kids are growing up, you know, if the neighbor's kid walks or talks a month before, you think that your kid is behind. Bilingual kids, which is something that is so rampant across the country, and especially in a place like Montreal. Oftentimes kids will be behind in one language, or apparently behind in one language, but there's just the number. I mean, by the time a child is, I think it's 2 or 3, they speak 3,000 words. So if it's one language, it's 3,000 words. If it's 3 languages, it's 3,000 words. So that's just the capacity. So people have this notion that your child is behind, but really they're perfectly on pace because they're learning different things in different languages. That's not something that is well known. There are all of these ideas that are out there in society that we're not doing a very good job educating people around them or away from them. Talking about something like digital, some kids might miss the boat on having the opportunity when they're super young. Digital tools can be an absolute enhancement to teaching of learning. Certain kids will learn in different ways. How can we identify that it's not a problem of learning, it's a problem of how they're learning and so on. So we actually have not to set digital on the shelf, so to speak. It may be a huge part of the solution. We haven't gotten there yet, I don't think. But in society, I mean, this idea that you've missed the boat on future, on a bright and positive future by the age of 5 or by the age of 8, and that's somehow unfixable, just seems to me to be a complete unfair and one more injustice in the whole system.
I'm so glad you brought up that fact, and I'm also so glad you brought up the fact that 3,000 words is the capacity for a child, especially.
From the age, but at early on, that's the number.
Especially in the context of Quebec, specifically in Montreal, where you probably should be bilingual or have some type of capacity to be bilingual, but we know that's not the case for everyone. Everyone has different abilities to learn different languages, and bilingualism, we mentioned this in our first episode, could differ compared to speaking, reading, comprehension, etc. How does the MinibiblioPLUS programming inspire bilingualism in these early learners, something that's so important?
We offer books in both languages, English and French, and more our partners are asking for both languages equally. We also like to offer representations of different groups, right? Just as in movies, you hear often interviews of people saying, well, I didn't have any models when I was young. They didn't have people of my ethnicity, my group. Well, we want to cater also books for that. So this brings more openness for the children to identify themselves and to want to develop themselves. And as we've been saying at the beginning, it's not just developing reading, it's developing fundamental skills. And those skills can be done through the books that we basically share.
And what advice would you give to a parent or a caregiver who's potentially not bilingual, maybe in our case for the REISA clientele, more English speaking? How could they inspire bilingualism in their children?
Having books around is certainly helpful. I'm a Sesame Street child. I actually grew up listening to Sesame Street, and that's basically also catering to the ear, having to hear something of your own age in another language. That's certainly helpful. Being around kids also that are of that other language is the basic way to get to develop language, because they get to play, and that's the major thing. I was talking about experiences earlier, but play is the number one element that children go for and learn with. So playing with the child, giving them books, even trying to read and showing that you're not perfect doing it is great too, because they get to learn that learning is not always easy, even for mom or dad.
Interesting point. I always feel this on a personal note, feel very shy to read to my baby cousins who are very well spoken for their age in French, and my French is not as strong, and I always feel a little bit embarrassed, but showing that, hey, I'm not perfect at this language and that's okay, and showing your children that they could be in the learning process as well is so fundamental.
And you can actually switch things around and ask them to read in that other language for you and say, I want to learn from you. That's a great idea as well, because you're empowering them and showing them that they have skills, that they can do it.
Exactly. Interesting enough, you might learn something from them. They may be able to exchange. I'll understand. You don't understand this in English, I'll explain it to you in French, or, vice versa kind of things.
Yeah, and I feel like we might undermine what we could learn from the little ones just solely based on their age, but we have so much to learn from people who are younger than us and older than us.
If I may, just as a final thought,
Yes.
John and I both had the opportunity to go to these readings where through the MinibiblioPLUS program, the Minibiblio are brought into daycares. I mean, I would encourage anyone that has the opportunity to go and watch what it is like when you have the opportunity to read to kids. It's similar to what I experienced with my own kids at home. I mean, there's magic in watching kids learn to read, and even reading to your nieces and nephews and what have you, whatever the language is. It roots us in our own experience, I think, and we do learn from it. But it's a truly magical thing to see.
And I too have experienced that on different levels. My son actually went to a German school for a period of time when he was in pre-K, because we couldn't find a daycare for him. and I found myself, we were buying German books, and I was struggling through reading in a language I really didn't know. And my son was very young at the time, and he would correct my pronunciation. So it is a special thing, and it's at the core of what we do. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, because I want to let people know that it's significant what we're doing, and our opportunity is sometimes misunderstood. The opportunity by the greater community to understand what Fraser-Hickson and Minibiblio does is I think it's a bit of an issue, because people assume in society that everybody's parents read to their children, but that's not the case. And here in Quebec, in certain regions of Quebec, we've got great literacy problems, but people don't know those problems exist. They manifest themselves in things like dropout rates, lower Laurentians. The dropout rate for boys is very high. So we've got to keep carrying the flag on the mission to let society as a whole know that it's important that we help our children get the skill sets they need to advance and be successful in school.
If I may, I'd like to talk about two organizations that we have. One is Heritage Saint Laurent. They're our partners. We send libraries to them. And what are they about? They're about working with English-speaking communities that are outside of English-speaking circles. So we're talking Bas Saint Laurent, Lower St. Lawrence, and these people are a minority in this sector. So they're underserved in books. They have difficulty finding them. So us sending them books is actually helping them. So big shout out to Margaret Wynn, who works with us. And we're also just recently with Sarali Kitak. I hope I'm saying that well. I'm probably not. It's a community social pediatric center in Montreal that's providing care for the urban Indigenous communities. So imagine that we're giving them books in both languages, but also in their language to help them build that bridge with their community here and build the bridge with us. So giving access is really one key element.
Is there a region that you would like to work with or develop later on?
Well, basically, it's all those regions that are underserved. Sometimes it's small pockets in Montreal that, they have a railway, they have other means, and they're not necessarily in the best areas to grow up with. This is where we want to send books, but also in different regions. I mean, we could go up to Abitibi and send books there for the Cree communities there that have had a hard time having access to books as well.
It also leads into some of these other ambitions that we have in terms of being a center for excellence around early language literacy research. And here in Montreal, we've got some great educational institutions. We hope to partner with those institutions, whether it's UQAM, McGill, Concordia, you name it. It could be
Observatoire des Tout-Petits.
it could be anywhere. So we're looking for ways to partner with educational institutions to further enhance our understanding as a society of what the key levers are for helping children develop, helping reduce or increase literacy across our impact area.
We're happy to be here. We're happy to have you as partners and support early literacy in our region, specifically in the east end of Montreal with Maria.
Way east.
way east in RDP. As a wrap up, I would like to thank everyone for being here and thank you for your time, your knowledge, your expertise. And what's the best way to contact you if an organization wants to partner?
We have a website, MinibiblioPLUS.org, that you can find all the information on, and you can also follow us on our social media. So that would be on Instagram and Facebook, and you can find us on LinkedIn as well. So many ways to find us that are.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.